Hi, friends. It's Randy.
And Jess.
And we're going to cut the bullshit.
And let's get into women's mental health. Welcome to the podcast, Unapologetically All Over the Place with Randy and Jess, where we talk about women's mental health issues and how it's all normal.
In this episode, we're going to talk about how to learn and also how to practice self-acceptance, which is different than self-care and self-love.
Right? We'll be exploring the differences between self-love and self-esteem and self-acceptance and self-compassion, even though they all sound alike.
All of these things go hand in hand. They are very subtle differences between them, but they can have profound impacts on your life and your self-acceptance and working on those goals to accepting yourself.
So stick with us. We are going to also give you a CBT exercise to help you reframe your negative thoughts. And so that way you can increase all of the 4 that we just talked about.
So have you ever had these thoughts running through your head?
How do I know if I love myself?
How do I accept the things about myself that I do not like?
How do I grow and accept others when I can't even accept myself?
Am I ever going to be good enough?
I'm so dumb. And this is when you forget like something totally simple.
Right, like the negative self-talk in your head, blaming yourself when things go wrong.
Or joking about yourself in a negative way. That's so tough.
Yeah, it's so tough. And we do it a lot, the depreciation. So just what is the difference between self-esteem, self-acceptance, self-love, and self-compassion? That was a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. Yes. Okay. So there is a subtle difference between each one. Self-esteem is how we value and perceive ourselves. It's based on the opinions and beliefs about ourselves. Some people think of this as like self-confidence. It can affect whether you like or value yourself as a person.
Okay, so our value that we put on ourselves or how we perceive to value ourselves, sometimes the way we just think about ourselves based off of opinions and beliefs that we have created.
About ourselves.
Yeah, about ourselves. Yeah. And then self-acceptance. That's your acceptance of all of your attributes, features, positive and negative, and embracing both of those pluses and minuses unconditionally with yourself, right?
Right. And that's recognizing and accepting your limitations or weaknesses. And those should not interfere with your ability to accept yourself fully. Right?
Yeah,
so self-acceptance is good, bad,
everything.
The
whole shebang.
The whole shebang, yes.
So that's when you like have kind of, that's like really the peak, right? Of like self-acceptance. Do we ever get there?
I hope, man. I hope.
I mean, we can like get maybe like 90%, like,
yeah.
Or like most days rather than not. So like maybe take that as a one.
Right. I mean, there are days where you're like, yeah. And there's days where we're like,
Yeah.
And I think this is where we go into the toxic positivity, right? We talked about that. Oh my gosh, I already forgot what episode that was.
We'll link it in the notes.
Right? But we talked about the toxic positivity. And so sometimes that can interfere with the self-acceptance piece.
Mm-hmm. So this is bringing the good and the bad together and being okay with it.
Right. And accepting that is who you
yourself.
are. Yourself.
That's who you are. What is self-love?
Ooh, okay. So self-love is defined as a state of appreciation for oneself, one that grows from actions that support our physical, psychological, spiritual growth, right? That is an appreciation. Like, I love myself.
Or you like yourself, or you like something about yourself. And we talked about that too in body positivity. Like you can like one part of yourself and not another. And
this
that's okay.
This is self-love, girl. This is not self-like. This is self-love, not
love yourself, damn it.
Love yourself, right? It means having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness, right? Taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to take care of others.
Yeah. So not making yourself small, not diminishing yourself, putting yourself first, truly loving yourself and taking care of yourself.
Self-compassion. I see a lot of women that do not have this.
So lack of empathy towards oneself, lack of compassion. When we stumble, when we fall, when we fail, when we mess up.
Feel inadequate, feel dumb.
So we can be like very abusive towards ourselves.
Mean.
Yeah. Like we would never talk to like a friend the way that we talk to ourselves.
No, we don't. And that is not having compassion. Having compassion for yourself looks like when you are having a hard time or you are suffering and being kind to yourself. It is being like, hey, I know we're having a rough day. I know you're trying your best. It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you had a lot on your mind and you totally forgot to pick up your kid, and it's okay.
The more kindness and compassion and empathy you can give yourself also can help like reduce like the anxiety that you can induce and create those thoughts and like help alleviate like depression and things like that too when you add in that component of self-compassion.
Right. And the story I just told was totally true. My brain was going a million miles the other day. I was coming back from the gym. My mom was on the phone in the car with me. I was talking to her, and I swear an hour before I had said, "Sure, kid, I'll totally pick you up." And guess what? I got home. I'm in the house with my husband or in the kitchen talking, and the phone rings, and I was like, "Who's that?" And she's like, "Mom, are you coming to get me?" And I was like,
"What?
Oh my God, I'll be right there." I mean, I was 5 minutes away, and I could have beat myself up the entire way, but I was like, no, I'm not a bad mom. I'm not a bad person. I just happened to totally forget what I said I'd do an hour ago, which is the ADHD part. But I got there and she was just laughing. I thought she was crying. She's like, "No, this is kind of funny, Mom." And I was like, "Well, I apologize. You know, this is not my normal." That was having self-compassion for myself, because I could have been like, worst mom ever.
Right. Like, this is a total fail. Like, how could I do this? Like, oh my God. Like,
I don't even deserve to be a mom.
My kid's going to hate me forever. So how are these all connected? To love yourself, you need to what?
This one's hard. This is like a 1 = 2 = 3 = 4.
Okay,
right?
We don't math.
Yeah, we don't math. So to love yourself, you need to explore what parts of yourself that you are not willing to accept. Loving yourself is all about accepting yourself 100%. But this is only possible when you stop judging yourself. And when you stop judging yourself, you raise your self-esteem.
So it's complicated.
It is. Okay, so this is the equal part, right? Self-acceptance leads to self-love, which leads to higher self-esteem.
Okay, so that's a little bit easier. Think of it kind of like as like a little circle with arrows, and like self-acceptance, self-love, higher self-esteem. So you can like skyrocket it.
It's almost like, instead of arrows, imagine like circles, 3 circles overlapping each other. And then each circle has one area that they overlap with something else, because they all share a piece.
Yeah.
But in the middle of that is the one thing all of them share,
so
which
like
is
a Venn diagram.
Is that what the Venn?
I don't know. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. But that is what it
sounds good.
Sounds good. But the very middle piece is the self-love. It's kind of like
Venn diagram. I was right.
Good job.
Where everything convenes in the center, and creates that impact. Okay.
All of these are totally connected. And that's when, even if you have a little piece of each one, you're working towards self-love. You're working towards, they all are connected.
Yeah, and you don't have to be like 100% at everything.
Gosh, no.
Like, even if it's just like you're trying, like, okay, bring in that self-compassion. Like, I'm trying, bitch. I'm trying to love myself right now. I'm trying to like myself. I'm trying to be kinder to myself. It doesn't have to be like 100% all the time.
No, and it's not false. It isn't something that you're trying to fake it till you make it. You hear us say that a lot. It's not fake it till you make it. It is just, if you're having a hard time in the other areas, pull more of your self-compassion, right? If you can't love yourself today, then pull more self-compassion towards yourself.
That's why it's so hard to accept yourself.
Yes.
Because we have been in this cyclical cycle of, we start school and we're measured by performance. We're measured by our performance of how we act in class. We're measured by our emotions in class. We're measured by our numbers in class, like the tests we take, the grades we take. Everything is measured and weighed. And so we learn to constantly compare ourselves against this almost invisible grade book.
And you're right. And in school, we're forced to be one way. And us being neurodivergent, we have neurodivergent kids, right? They want our kids and us to assimilate to how they are. And I always use the example of
to be mainstream.
Yeah, mainstream.
Normal.
So if people who are left-handed, they're forced in a right-handed world. Everything is right-handed unless you go to a lefty store.
Yeah, my son was left-handed, hit left-handed, started writing left-handed. Now he's writing right just because they put a pencil in your right hand. And like his handwriting is shit because of it.
And there's things that you do when you're left-handed. I had someone tell me that when they go to dinner, they have to sit a certain way. Otherwise, they're always bumping elbows with the righties.
And they live in a right-handed world. And that's the same when you are neurodivergent and ADHD or you're on the autism spectrum. Like, you're expected to follow these invisible rules that have been made up for a certain percentage of the population.
I think that's why I see so many ADHD women who have a hard time accepting themselves and having self-love and self-compassion and just regarding themselves as being worthy because they have been comparing themselves, right, to these peers that they have been told they have to be like, and they're not like that. And so that's what's really hard is when you work with them to say, no, let's focus on some self-compassion. And let's think of your brain a different way, right?
Well, and when we think about family dynamics and that layer too, a lot of times siblings can be compared, paired, pitted against, each other.
Triangulated.
Yeah. Like, why are you not like this? Or even like a cousin or like a friend's kid. Like, why is so-and-so getting a grade in this? Or why is so-and-so good at this sport and you're not? Like, how are you from like the same family? Or how do you have the same genes? Or how are you even related? Like,
Right.
It's like, why do we need to be the same?
Why are we comparing to find the things that we need, which is self-compassion and self-love and self-esteem and self-worth and all of that.
So that can be hard to achieve that with things like that with family, depending on where you live, like the diversity, like the culture, like we live in a kind of like bubble, here too, like culturally, like where we live, and we don't really fit into that bubble. And we've had to fight against that like mainstream like ideology too, so like those things are working against like your self-acceptance, because you're like, wait, I don't think like that person, like, should I like assimilate to them, like, and hide? Like, no.
We were talking about that the other day, my husband and I, and he was like, I can't believe, they think blah, 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 blah. And I was like, and we don't think like that. Are we the ones that wrong? Right? Like, are we the ones that are thinking wrong and they're thinking this way? No. We just think differently. And if we don't compare ourselves, then that's great, right?
Yeah.
But it can be hard for a lot of us to accept ourselves, like what you're talking about. If we're living in an area where diversity or equity or inclusion are low, think of people who are LGBTQIA, right? If they're living in an area where there isn't a bigger community, then they're not going to think highly of themselves.
Right.
Or as highly as if they had peers who are very similar to them.
Yeah. And like bringing in that equality piece too. I mean, it's the same thing. Like if you're like a female, like in a male driven industry, it's going to be hard to accept some things because you're like, well, I don't have a dick. How am I going to compare with this boys club?
I hate when I have to pull out my husband's penis just to get a point across. That is like my biggest pet peeve, right?
Yeah.
But I see that a lot with like, people who have the same degrees, right? You'll have 2 psychologists, you'll have 2 doctors, and one of them the woman will have lower self-esteem than the man
and lower pay
and lower self-acceptance and lower acceptance from the community, right? Because they don't have a penis.
But it's never too late to work on accepting yourself. You can start right now. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, where you're at in life, you can learn to love yourself where you are right now. And you might need to do work on it again down the road because we are constantly changing and evolving.
Right. And part of this, I want to go back, as we talked about imposter syndrome back in episode 11. A lot of that comes from not having a connection between these things that we're talking about, not feeling as if you belong. When you can start working on these, then that imposter syndrome will start to be less and less.
Yeah. So you start bringing all these puzzle pieces like together
Yep.
to form the whole of who you are, as you work on them deeper and deeper. And sometimes you might need to take a piece out. Piece doesn't fit anymore, and you need to like resolve the jigsaw puzzle of your life. And that's okay. It can be ever evolving and changing. When you have worked on that self-compassion piece, it becomes easier and easier to find that acceptance as you grow and become older.
Exactly. And especially with people who are ADHD, especially like us who have been diagnosed late in life. If anyone's engaged in any kind of like, harmful behaviors, they were, they've done drugs when they were earlier. They, took forever to get through school. They
have a lot of trauma.
Slept around. They made poor choices.
Right.
A lot of that's really hard to accept because you're like, oh, crap, I did that in my 20s.
Oh, yeah. Like, because I had no impulse control like in my 20s because I was unmedicated ADHD. And I'm thinking like, holy crap, how did I survive my 20s? But yeah, like, I mean, I've learned to accept it because now I understand it. But
right.
But that's why, things like this podcast and talking about it is so important because with that knowledge comes power. And with that power, you can find the empathy and the compassion that you need towards yourself. Like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense why I was acting this way or doing these things or acting out this way, or I was being impulsive or had risky behavior. Like, now all the dots are connecting.
And it does. It gives us better self-compassion and self-acceptance because you're like, oh, I'm not a complete screw up.
Right.
This is why I did this. And even if, you aren't ADHD and did those things, it's still okay to have self-compassion for yourself.
Yeah. And it's not narcissistic. Let's just explain that because people can be like, oh, you're putting yourself first. Like, me. Like it can sound like that, but this is just important component of learning about yourself, learning about your emotions, like learning who you are, understanding it and accepting it. Because when you're a narcissist, what does that look like?
Oh my gosh. So like traits of a narcissist, they have a very strong sense of self-importance. That's different than what we're talking about, right? Self-importance means they are the most important.
Right.
Which is different than taking care of yourself.
They have
no empathy, right? This fame and glory that they have, right? They're so amazing.
Fantasy life.
Fantasies, yes.
And they exploit others with like their needs and wants and stuff. So that does not go hand in hand with this. That's separate. Yeah.
Craving admiration, lacking, like I said, lacking empathy. The difference though is we're saying take care of yourself. It's okay to put yourself first, to have all of
those boundaries.
Yeah. Yes, because when you do that, you can take care of others. What are some ways we can learn to accept ourselves?
Forgive yourself. For those,
what?
Yeah,
what?
For those, like I had to come to terms with that. Like I was saying, like with the way I acted out, like in my 20s, like I was like, my brain wasn't developed and I wasn't diagnosed correctly. And there was a lot of things happening in my life. I needed to be kind and understanding to Randy 20.0 or whatever, it was. And that led me to understand how to practice what we lead into self-compassion.
In self-compassion, again, it sounds things like, even if you're like, oh, I can't believe I completely screwed up that job. It could be things like, it's okay that there was a mistake made. You can still fix it. It's okay. You had a lot going on. There was a really busy day.
Right.
You didn't get a lot of sleep because the kids had you up. They're not excuses, but it's acknowledging why you are where you are.
And that moves into another point to accept yourself is using that present moment to be aware and mindful of like what's happening. Like you said, okay, so in this moment, the kids kept me up all night.
Yep.
So I am going to need to be kinder with myself throughout this day and also communicate to others. I am not going to have like the wherewithal or the patience, to meet maybe your needs or my own needs, like, or I might need help, like meeting my needs today because of that. And then that flows into your acknowledging what you are capable of.
Right. And loving your abilities. It is really saying today, I am capable of this. I can get through this. I can have another cup of coffee. I'm going to maybe withdraw a little bit or be a little bit more quiet. But because I've already been mindful of where I'm at, I can accept that and I can acknowledge that this is where I'm at.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, like we can downplay too, like our abilities and the things that we're good at because we're not good at everything. And we kind of have like this culture, like we need to excel like at everything. Cause
Pinterest.
like, right. Cause like women were like the caretakers, like the workers, like the nurses, like the carpool, like the sport, like everything. Like we have our hand in everything. And so we feel like we need to be like 1,000% at all these things. And it's like, no, okay, let's just, what are you good at?
Hey, my kid got to school today. Think that is just winning. And she got 2 hugs out of me and she left in a better mood than she woke up.
So it's like love your abilities. And that's very hard, especially when you're dealing with your mental health, your mental illness, or you have like ADHD and stuff. We can tend to be like perfectionist driven. And that's going to drive you insane,
right?
You know, doing that. So like that inner critic, tell them, shut up.
Well, I'm going to say, instead of telling them to shut up, tell them that they no longer serve a purpose.
Yeah. They have no home here.
They have no home here. And it's okay that they go away. They can go knock on somebody else's door.
Just throw up the peace sign and say, peace out, inner critic.
Peace. The other thing is connecting with a loved one. If it's a friend, like I have a friend when I'm having a day, or I'll call her, I'll be like, I need 90 seconds. Or she'll call me and go, I need 90 seconds. And we're like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. All right, good. Okay. I can do the rest of the day now. And it is really just being able to talk with somebody who can make you laugh.
Yeah. Or like can like pump you up and stuff and be like, I know one of my good friends the other day was like so stressed out because she has like a interview for like nursing for her first nursing job. And I was like, do not doubt yourself. You are a badass. They need you. Like,
that was this.
It. You know, like that's all the time I had. That's all the time she had. And I was like, you know, sent off that text to her and I was like, quit stressing. Kick ass. And sometimes that's all we need is that 1 second of somebody to be like, you got it. Like, get out of your head.
A good reminder to say you're amazing. You are amazing and you are worthy just for being you.
And another important component I feel is learning to accept disappointment and move on from it. And
don't ruminate.
Yeah, not letting it like drag you down because sometimes disappointment can cause like this horrible weight around like your neck and it can like pull you down into a deep dark place. Kind of learning the signs that might trigger you, you know, when disappointment can come and like, how can I manage that? Like, what does that look like for me? Maybe I need to have a little self-talk. Maybe I need to schedule like a little girl time, like, or make a list like, okay, if this happens, I need to reference this to like pull myself out of this funk.
And the other one I really work with people on is understanding like what's going on and what you're not so great at. Let's say birthday parties, right?
We all have limits.
Right. I can bake cupcakes. I can put together snacks. I can put together a party. I don't know if I can do all of it at the same time.
Right.
I am not ashamed to be like, you know, Aunt's store down the street baked my cupcakes and I got my sandwiches from this place. And yeah, I'm going to stick them on a pretty plate. But I don't have to do all of it because those are my limitations. And I'm not going to hang streamers, but we're going to buy balloons.
Yeah. I used to like stress myself out to the max trying to do every single little thing myself. And now I'm like, no, or simplify it. Your kids aren't going to remember like they had like a 20-foot whatever birthday balloon. They're going to remember that you were there and that you showed up and that you loved and cared for them. It's like my best hack was like once I just bought Lunchables for the whole birthday, like 20 Lunchables. That was our birthday party.
They love Lunchables.
They loved it. Do you know how freaking excited? That was the best birthday party ever. They got Lunchables and it was like it was cheaper than like having it catered, all this whatever, you know. I was spending hours cutting up tiny little sandwiches. So it saved time, it saved money, and the kids loved it.
Part of it is really if you know your limitations, work with them and to make things successful.
Yeah. And then it's easier to accept, you know, why you did it. And that now everybody's like, wow, damn, Lunchables, that was a good idea, Randy. Like, I'm going to do that and steal that. And it's like, now it's Pinterest cool. But like, it wasn't like before it did.
Well, and you know, I won't buy my kid Lunchables. I'm like, no, that's not healthy. Don't do that. You're only going to eat the cheese and the Oreo.
Oh, yeah, I know.
No, you're only going to eat the cheese and the Oreo.
Why are there always crackers left?
For a party. I'm like, sure, just eat the cheese and the Oreos, whatever. Y'all can trade. I don't care what you do. I think there's also a key that we need to exercise just like we would our bodies, our minds. We really need to exercise so we can really have self-acceptance.
Yeah, it's like anything. It takes practice. It takes intention. It takes time, which we don't freaking have.
Being deliberate.
Yeah. And like, this is important because a lot of us don't have examples of what this looks like. We've never seen it done. We've never seen like our mothers do it. We've never seen our grandmothers do it. We've never seen our friends do it. So it's like, what does this look like? How do we do this? How do we reframe it? So I love that we're going to walk through this exercise that you guys can do for yourself to like work on this at home.
And I do this with my daughter unknowingly. She'll reframe all the time, and she's so good at it. But I'm like, she must have learned that somewhere, right? And I was like, yeah, she learned that from me.
Yeah.
By reframing, what we mean is taking your negative thoughts and beliefs about yourself and changing those. And so the first one would be to write it down. I don't mean do like a slam book about everything you hate about yourself.
Mean girl book to yourself.
There's not a mean girl book for yourself, right? But what we do want is we want the one I think I
Well, you need to acknowledge that you are actually, I think a lot of times we think these thoughts, but writing them down and seeing that you're saying that to yourself is powerful.
Yes. And the big one most people will not do is I am unworthy of love, right? People think that they're unworthy of love.
Right. Or like, I'm not smart enough for this. Or like, I feel like I'm not enough for my partner. Or like, I am not a good mother. Things like that, writing that down, even though you're going to feel probably like horrible and icky, in a way it gives you power back. Let's reframe that horrible thought you're inducing into your mind.
Okay, so let's do the first one. So now that you've written this list, and again, it's a list, it's not a slam book. Start with like some small, like 5.
Like
we don't
3
need,
to 5 things.
We don't need like 50.
Don't go down a deep dark hole.
No. Like 3 to 5 things that are really bugging you. Now go through each. We're going to call those beliefs because that's truly what you believe about yourself. Start by challenging each statement, each thought, and go, asking yourself, is this 100% true?
Okay.
Right?
So like example, I say, I am not a good mother.
Okay. Is that 100% true, Randy?
No.
I mean, I'm the one that forgot my kid like 2 weeks ago. Oh my gosh. Right? But okay, so that is not 100% true. You're going to say no. So then what I want you to do is once you've said yes or no to each one, it can't be true all the time, right? So replace each one, let's go for that one, with a positive self-talk, not toxic positivity. Woof, that was hard.
I'm a terrible mother or I'm a horrible mother. I would reframe that as I am a good mother. I am human. I make mistakes.
Okay, I might say I am a loving mother because trying to say I'm a good mother, that
can be overall.
That can be hard because you just got done saying I'm
decent.
Horrible.
I'm like 50-50.
I'm okay, right? I'm okay.
I say I'm okay.
I'm okay. But I am a very loving mother.
Or I like to say I'm breaking cycles. So it's like I'm aware, of these things that I might be doing that are wrong, and I'm trying to change them for my kids.
I'm an aware mother.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be it. For me, I would say I am a loving mother, right? I don't do anything out of harm. Nothing is malicious.
Yeah.
I am loving. And so that is part of the positive reframe. So that's part of the CBT is being able to do that and say that. Now, what I tell people to do is I take it a step further is I say either every time you brush your teeth, more than likely I tell people every time you start your car, I want you to do your reframe. I am a loving mother. I am a good person.
Right. And this is why, too, you can attach that to. You're worried that you're a good mom. So that's a sign that you're probably a good mom.
Right.
Because you're actually worried if you are not, or if you're harming them or you're not harming them. And like this can also play hand in hand with some other types of therapy too, like EMDR. I did this personally too around reframing thoughts about my mother's death and passing, that I felt responsible for her dying. And let me tell you, walking through that shit was some of the hardest shit I've ever done. Telling myself, when my therapist and I sat down and she said, Randy, do you have the power to be 100% responsible for your mother's death? And I had to say, no, I'm not God.
No, you did not cause it.
Right.
So you are not 100% responsible.
I was making myself a God in that situation, that I was all powerful, all knowing, and I could control the outcome, and I 100% could not. And then I walked myself down from that for like a year of like therapy. Like, I am not that powerful. This is what I did. This was what was in my control. This is what I did and didn't. And that's how you can reframe your thoughts and your patterns and give yourself compassion and a new life. I was able to walk through so much grief and do a lot of healing with this simple technique.
I think as women, I do. I think as women, we own too much.
We carry it all.
We carry it all. We accept it all as our responsibility. We accept everything.
Sis, lay it down. It's not yours to carry.
No, it's not. And
it's not. It makes me want to cry because
right?
we're all carrying too much.
Yeah, carrying too much. I mean,
carrying other people. Their emotions, their baggage,
their shit.
Yeah.
And part of this is really just reframing and owning what's yours to own, accepting it, being aware, having self-compassion and self-love. I mean, all of these, they're different. They're very similar, right? But it's almost like you have to have all of these to really feel connected and be with yourself. I'm making like little hearts, little heart hands. I'm making little hands with my heart.
You could see her
little
right
hearts
now.
with my hand.
Oh, like love yourself.
Love yourself with a little heart.
No, but it's true. Like there's just different pieces. And when they all come together, it can help you. It can be so healing, empowering, and give you like a new breath of fresh air into things that you can be struggling with. So we hope you guys have learned something this episode and can take our tips and be a little bit kinder to yourself this week.
Yeah, reframe and reframe and reframe. Have a great week.
Talk to you later. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks for listening and normalizing mental health with us.
Don't forget to check out our free resources and favorites on our website, unapologeticallyrandyandjess.com.
Like and share this episode and tune in next week.